The chamber of the Galactic Council glittered with polished stone and suspended light orbs, yet the air felt colder than any void. At the center, a delegation of the Ilyari stood trembling. Their feathers, thin crystalline plumes that once shimmered with vibrant color, hung dull and brittle under the weight of despair. "Celeroon is burning," their envoy pleaded, voice cracking as if the words themselves were fragile. "Our towers collapse. Our children starve beneath bombardment. We beg you, send aid. If not soldiers, then supplies. If not fleets, then mercy." The great hall remained silent for a moment, before murmurs rippled among the tiers. The Kothel Confederacy's representative, a four-eyed amphibian cloaked in gold, gave a dismissive laugh. "Your people are brittle glass. You were doomed the moment you dared settle near Dominion space. Resources spent on you would be wasted." A Xyrix Dominion observer leaned forward, serrated teeth bared in a grin. "The weak fall so the strong endure. That is the law of the stars." The Ilyari envoy's wings sagged. Their voice dropped to a whisper. "Then the law of the stars is crueler than death." On the council's lower platform, Commander Elias Kale rose from his seat. Unlike the others draped in ceremonial garb, he wore the dark blue uniform of Earth's fleet. His posture was rigid, but anger burned beneath the discipline. "Is this what you call civilization?" Kale's voice rang clear, unadorned by translation filters. "Measured speeches and shining walls while children are left to die because their lives don't fit your ledgers?" Dozens of alien eyes turned toward him. Whispers rose, some contemptuous, others curious. A massive insectoid ambassador clicked its mandibles. "The human speaks out of turn." Kale ignored it. His gaze swept the chamber. "When Earth joined this council, we were told it was a beacon of unity. That here, the strong sheltered the weak, and all races held dignity. Was that a lie, or has this place rotted too far to remember?" The presiding speaker, a skeletal elder from the Lethar species, lifted a frail hand. "Commander Kale, you risk much by insulting this body. Humanity's place here is not yet secured. Do you mean to throw it away for a species that cannot survive on its own?" Kale's reply came like steel striking stone. "Better to risk our place than our souls." An eruption of protest filled the chamber. The Dominion envoy slammed a clawed fist against the railing. "Then you will share their grave. Act against our fleets, and we will crush your world as we crush theirs." The speaker raised his hand again, and silence gradually returned. His tone carried finality. "The Council will not intervene. The Ilyari fate is sealed. Humanity, if you attempt unilateral action, you will stand alone, no aid, no trade, no recognition. Think carefully, Commander." Kale's jaw tightened, but his voice did not waver. "Then so be it." Hours later, aboard the UNS Resolute, the Council's glittering chamber felt like a nightmare fading into cold reality. The Resolute's command deck hummed with restrained energy, officers waiting for Kale's decision. Tactical Officer Ramirez broke the silence. "Sir, you heard the speaker. If we move against Dominion fleets, we'll not only face their wrath, but sanctions from the Council. We'll be fighting the galaxy with a handful of ships." Kale's gaze stayed fixed on the star map projected above the table. Celeroon glowed weakly at the edge of Dominion-claimed space, surrounded by crimson markers that pulsed like wounds. "Sanctions or not, Celeroon won't last another cycle. If we wait, there'll be nothing left to save." Science Officer Terran adjusted her visor, her voice cool but weighted. "The Dominion has a fleet 5 times our size stationed nearby. Rationally, we don't have a chance. The Council knows this. That's why they wash their hands of it." "And if we don't go?" Kale asked. Silence answered him. Lieutenant Commander Hale, youngest of the bridge staff, finally spoke, hesitant. "Sir, I know the odds. I know we might not make it back. But they asked for help, and we're the only ones who answered. That has to mean something." Ramirez shook his head, frustration edging his voice. "Meaning won't matter if we're vaporized in the first salvo." Kale turned to face them, his expression carved from determination. "I won't order any of you to follow me into this fight. But I'll tell you this, if we turn away, If we abandon them like the Council has, then every word we've ever spoken about humanity's place among the stars is hollow. We'll be no different than the monsters we swore we weren't." The room held its breath. Then, one by one, heads nodded. Ramirez muttered, "Damn it, sir. You always know how to make it impossible to argue." Cale allowed the faintest of smiles. "Good. Then set the course." Preparation rippled through the fleet. Supply officers scrambled to redistribute rations. Engineers secured damage control teams in every corridor. Pilots checked fighters twice over, knowing some would never return. There was no illusion of invincibility, only grim determination. In the medbay, Cale paused at the threshold. Dozens of soldiers and medics worked in silence, each knowing the storm they were sailing into. A young ensign looked up as Cale entered. "Commander, is it true? The Council won't help?" Cale met his gaze. "It's true." "Then why are we going?" Cale crouched to meet the boy's eyes. "Because when someone cries for help, and you're the only one who hears, you don't walk away. Not if you want to live with yourself afterward." The ensign swallowed hard, then nodded. On the bridge once more, Cale gave his final order. "Signal the fleet. Jump engines to full charge. We head for Celeroon." The stars outside the Resolute's viewport shimmered, bending as the void itself prepared to split. Cale stood at the center, hands clasped behind his back. For an instant he thought of Earth, of oceans and forests untouched by alien indifference. Then he thought of Celeroon, and the fragile voices that had begged in the chamber of cowards. "Engage," he said. With a thunderous flash, the human fleet leapt into the abyss, toward a doomed world, and a battle that might claim them all. The void around Celeroon shimmered with wreckage. Shattered towers of crystal glowed faintly on the surface below, smoke plumes staining the pale blue skies. Orbit was dominated by the Xyrex fleet, sleek warships, black as obsidian, shaped like blades designed to cut the stars themselves. They drifted in formation, launching occasional bombardments that lit the horizon in burning scars. The UNS Resolute emerged from the jump, accompanied by a dozen smaller escorts. Their hulls gleamed silver against the dark expanse, fragile specks before the Dominion swarm. Communications flared immediately. A desperate signal, weak and ragged, pierced the static. "This is Celeroon Council. Is anyone there? Our defenses have collapsed. Our cities, we cannot." The voice dissolved into interference. Cale's answer cut through. "Celeroon, this is Commander Elias Cale of the United Nations Fleet. Hold on. You are not alone." On the surface, in bunkers carved into stone, the Ilyari listened. Somewhat at the sound of a promise they thought would never come. Ramirez, at tactical, scanned the display. "Dominion vessels, 39 in orbit. Carriers, cruisers, frigates. We're outnumbered 5-1. Cale studied the glowing markers with grim calm. "Then we'll make them count us as 5. The main view screen flickered. High Marshal Veyrak appeared, scaled skin dark green, slit-pupiled eyes gleaming with predatory delight. "So the humans come to die with their pets." His smile widened, jagged teeth catching the light. "I will carve your ships open and let the galaxy watch you bleed." Cale's expression never shifted. "Better to bleed for the helpless than slaughter them for pride." Veyrak hissed, amused. "You mistake weakness for virtue. I will correct that mistake." The channel cut. Alarm screamed. Enemy warships broke formation, charging toward the human fleet. "Shields raised! Weapons hot!" Ramirez barked. The first volley came like thunder. Lances of plasma tore across the void, grazing the Resolute's hull. The ship shuddered. Cale's voice was steady. "Split the escorts. Wolf pack pattern. Hit and fade." Human destroyers darted forward, weaving unpredictable arcs through Dominion fire. Missiles streaked into enemy formations, tearing through the flanks of larger ships. For a moment, the Predators faltered, confused by the unorthodox tactics. "Target down!" Hale shouted as one Dominion cruiser erupted in flame. Cheers rose, cut short as return fire smashed into a human frigate, splitting it in two. The explosion lit the dark like a dying star. The bridge went silent. Cale's jaw clenched. Mark their sacrifice. Keep fighting. More Dominion ships pressed in, their numbers overwhelming. The Resolute fired broadside cannons, hammering an enemy carrier, but impacts rattled its own shields to the brink. In the medbay, alarms blared as injured crew were rushed in. One medic muttered, "We weren't meant to fight a whole empire." Another replied, "We were meant to fight for someone." Minutes stretched into eternity. Hull breaches reported, oxygen vents sealed, yet the fleet held. Ramirez swore under his breath. "Sir, we can't outlast them. We'll be stripped to bone in an hour." Cale studied the moons of Celeroon spinning nearby. Inspiration struck. "Pull back toward the second moon. Keep formation tight. Prepare slingshot maneuver." Terran glanced up, startled. "That's suicidal. If we miss the curve, then we won't miss." Cale cut her off. Orders relayed. Engines roared. The human fleet dove toward the moon's gravity well, Dominion ships in pursuit. The maneuver strained every system, hulls groaning as though ready to split. Then, at the last moment, Cale gave the command. "Break and strike." The fleet slingshot around the moon's curve, suddenly behind the Dominion line. Missiles and torpedoes unleashed in a single coordinated strike. 2 carriers erupted in fire, their wreckage tumbling into orbit. On the surface, Ilyari huddled in caverns saw the sudden flare of enemy destruction. For the first time in weeks, cheers rose among them. Veyrak's roar shook the calms. "You think tricks will save you? I will grind you into dust," Cale answered coldly. "Come and try." The cost was heavy. Another destroyer fell, its last transmission carrying only static before fire consumed it. The Resolute itself staggered under fresh impacts, hull plating peeling away. Cale walked among the crew in brief lulls, voice calm, presence steady. "Hold the line. We promised them." In the medbay, Ramirez passed through, seeing injured soldiers refusing to leave their posts. One, arm bandaged, whispered, "Why do we fight for them?" Cale overheard, answering without hesitation. "Because no one else will." At last, the Dominion fleet pulled back, their formation ragged. Veyrak's flagship lingered at the edge of range, his fury palpable even through the void. "This is not over, human," his voice growled. "At dawn cycle, I return with everything. Your death will be slow." Cale stood tall, blood on his uniform from a shallow cut he hadn't noticed. "Then we'll be here to greet you." The transmission cut. The bridge went quiet. Fires were extinguished, casualties tallied. Half the fleet was gone, but Celeroon still stood. Terran's voice was tired, but tinged with awe. "We held." Cale exhaled slowly, the weight pressing against his chest. "For now." On Celeroon, civilians emerged from bunkers to gaze at the night sky, watching the human ships orbiting battered but unyielding. An Ilyari elder whispered to the children clustered around her. "They fight for us, when all others abandoned us." The child looked up at the heavens. "Then maybe we will live." In the war room of the Resolute, Cale addressed his officers. Holomaps glowed with red clusters, Dominion reinforcements incoming. "They'll return with double their strength. We don't have the numbers, but we have something they don't. We have a reason. That reason is enough to hold this line." Ramirez looked at him. "And if it isn't?" Cale's eyes hardened. "Then we fall, having kept our promise." Outside, Celeroon turned slowly beneath them, scarred but alive. For the first time since joining the Council, humanity's banner flew where no others dared. The dawn cycle of Celeroon rose dimly through the haze of ash. From orbit, the world glowed scarred but still alive. On the Resolute's bridge, silence held. Every officer watched the tactical display, where a crimson tide of Dominion reinforcements spilled into the system. Triple the ships from before, an armada stretching across the void. Ramirez's voice was hoarse. 72 confirmed signatures. Carriers, dreadnoughts, full assault wing. Cale didn't blink. And us? 5 ships left, including Resolute. Half of them limping. The numbers weighed on the room. Taryn adjusted her visor, breaking the silence. Sir, if we stand, we die. Kale's gaze stayed locked on the screen. If we run, Celeroon dies. Which choice do you prefer? The crew had no answer. A transmission broke through. High Marshal Veyrak's face filled the view screen, scales gleaming under crimson light. His smile was a blade. You fought well, human. But now the game ends. I will burn this world while you watch, then scatter your ashes into its atmosphere. Kale leaned forward. Come take your lesson, Veyrak. You'll find humans don't fold as neatly as your prey. The Dominion commander's smile sharpened. Then bleed. The channel snapped dead. Kale turned to his officers. They outgun us 10-1. That means they think numbers are enough. We'll prove them wrong. We hit their command ship directly. Cut off the head, and the beast falters. Ramirez frowned. That's suicide. Then we'll die with purpose. Kale's eyes swept across the bridge. We promised the Ilyari they would not die alone. Today, we make good on that promise. The crew absorbed his words. Doubt hardened into grim resolve. The Dominion fleet advanced like a tide of steel. The human formation shifted, battered hulls angling toward the heart of the storm. Kale's voice carried through the comms, fleet-wide. Brothers and sisters, today the galaxy watches. They will say humanity is reckless. They will say we don't belong. Let them. We will show them what belonging means. We stand for the ones abandoned. We fight for the ones forgotten. If this is our end, then let it blaze bright enough to shame the cowards who turned away. A chorus of acknowledgments filled the comms. No hesitation. The first salvo shook the Resolute like a hammer. Sparks flew, consoles cracked. Ramirez shouted coordinates, gunners responding with missiles that streaked into the swarm. Several Dominion frigates burst apart, but more pressed in. Kale pointed toward the flagship at the fleet's core, a monstrous vessel bristling with weapons. Target the command ship. All units focus fire. Human ships dove through walls of plasma, weaving unpredictable paths. One frigate took a direct hit, spiraling into the void, but in its death throes it rammed a Dominion cruiser, detonating both. The shockwave lit the battlefield. Veyrak's voice returned, echoing like thunder. Pathetic. Your tricks cannot save you. Kale answered through gritted teeth. Tricks don't win wars. Resolve does. The Resolute plunged forward, shields flaring under constant bombardment. Warning klaxons wailed, systems failing one by one. Taryn shouted. Shields at 20%. Hull integrity collapsing. Push through. Kale barked. The remaining destroyers formed a wedge, shielding the flagship as they tore a path toward the Dominion command ship. One by one, they fell, each sacrifice opening the way. The command ship loomed ahead, massive and impregnable. Ramirez swore. We won't crack that hull before they tear us apart. Kale's mind raced. Then, calm as stone. Prepare the Resolute's core. We'll drive straight into them. Gasps filled the bridge. Hale's eyes widened. Sir, you mean? I mean we make sure our lives by theirs. No half measures. Silence. Then Ramirez nodded. Aye, Commander. Charging the core. The Dominion flagship unleashed a wall of fire, pounding Resolute's shields to nothing. The hull screamed as if alive. Fires broke across the deck. Crew fought to hold positions, knowing this was the end. Kale stood tall at the center, voice steady. Helm all ahead. Weapons, concentrate fire on their forward batteries. Give them no chance to stop us. The Resolute surged forward. Cannons blazed, ripping through the command ship's defenses. The Dominion vessel shuddered under the unexpected ferocity. Veyrak appeared on the screen once more, eyes narrowed. You would throw away your ship for glassbirds? Madness. Kale's reply was cold fire. No. Humanity. The screen cut as the Resolute rammed through the Dominion flagship's shield bubble, slamming into its armored hull. The detonations began immediately, human warheads piercing deep into the enemy's core. Kale gave his last order. Detonate the core. The ship erupted. Light consumed the void, brighter than dawn, as the Dominion flagship tore itself apart in a chain reaction. Shockwaves shredded its escorts. The fleet faltered, leaderless, scattering in confusion. Hours later, silence reigned. The Dominion remnants retreated, leaving wreckage adrift across Solaran's sky. The human fleet was gone, save for fragments. Solaran's survivors emerged from bunkers, staring at the heavens. Where once Dominion ships had blotted out the stars, now only wreckage drifted. An Ilyari elder whispered, "They kept their word." Children raised their wings, shimmering faintly with color returning. Hope had survived. News traveled swiftly across the stars. Council chambers filled with whispers. Reports spread of a handful of human ships holding against an empire, of a commander who rammed his vessel into the heart of a fleet to save a race deemed worthless. "They are reckless," some muttered. "They are dangerous," others warned. But among many came another voice. "They are the ones who will not turn away." On Solaran's surface, the Ilyari built a monument from crystal and steel. At its base, etched in human tongue and Ilyari script alike, they stood when all others fled. Humanity remembered us. The galaxy had abandoned Selaroon. Humanity had not. And that made all the difference.